Toby arrived at the station with Henrietta.
Ah, Toby, this is Bernard Jenkins, the railway inspector. You have to take him around Sodor today.
No problem,
said Toby. Bernard Jenkins looked at Henrietta.
Oh, I hope that isn't one of them old coaches that has that awful leather smell inside that makes you sick.
Toby was hurt, but he didn't want to argue with the railway inspector, and he got inside Henrietta, and they set off. A few minutes later, Edward arrived at the station, and he looked very sad. Then James puffed by.
There he is! The engine responsible for all this mess!
He shouted. At the quarry, Bill had played a trick on Ben. Bill was on one side of the train, and he was coupled on and had his brakes on. And Ben was trying to pull it, but he couldn't move.
Order! Order, driver! Why can't I pull these trucks?
Bill was laughing. There was a problem. The coupling on one of the trucks was starting to get loose, and to make matters worse, Toby was arriving with the railway inspector. Then he got out of Henrietta.
This is a quarry, sir, and as you can see, everything runs, just fine. Just fine, is it? Really?
You've done it! That's the railway inspector!
Mavis shouted to Bill.
Oh, really? Hi, railway inspector. I'm Bill. That was my twin Ben. He seems to be having a few little, problems lately.
Really? There seems to be a lot of problems on this railway lately.
Then the quarry manager came over to speak to the railway inspector, and Toby sighed sadly.
Could this day get any worse?
Edward arrived at Crovan's gate with the passengers, and Peter Sam was waiting for him.
Hello, Edward. You look very sad.
They're all cross with me.
Who's all cross with you?
Gordon, James and Henry. They're all cross with me because it's my fault the railway's under investigation.
It's your fault? Whatever did you do?
The tracks on Gordon's Hill were slippy, and I tried my best to be careful, but I lost control and crashed in the buffers, and all the passengers were jolted off their seats.
But that wasn't your fault, Edward. The well is to blame. It could have happened to any engine.
Try telling them that.
Then Gordon raced past.
Retire! Retire! Just retire!
You see what I mean, Peter Sam?
For the rest of the day, Toby was taking the railway inspector all around the island. Soon they arrived at the old factories. Bernard Jenkins looked over and saw Diesel, and decided to speak to him.
Ah, Diesel, I presume. Are you busy?
Yes. I've to take a huge order from the knicker factory to the docks.
Yes, very good. Diesel, I'd like to ask you a question. What is it like with the Topham Hatt as controller of Sodor?
Toby looked sternly at Diesel. Well, he's alright, I suppose. He may walk at the speed of a 30-stone tortoise, but every time there's an accident, he's there as quick as a flash.
Every time there's an accident? How often is there accidents?
Oh, there's accidents on this railway all the time. The flying kipper always crashes. Engines run into turntable wheels, and they crash through buffers. And when the Mallard was in charge, it was awful. I lay in a ditch for a couple of weeks and everyone thought I was dead. And from what I heard, 2 visiting diesels crashed off the viaduct and run into the flower shop.
The Mallard was in charge? The Mallard, the steam engine?
The very same.
And was it Sir Topham Hatt that put her in charge?
I believe it was.
When the Mullard was in charge, what else happened?
Well, she had a driver that done all the Fat Controller's paperwork, and he was as mad as a hatter. And he planted bombs all around the island.
Bombs? You're adding me on.
No, I am not. And Thomas, Percy and Toby had to run round the island disconnecting them all.
I don't believe this.
You don't believe it? Where were you, May, last year? It was all over the news and everything.
I was in New Zealand. I knew nothing of this.
Well, you know now. As Bernard Jenkins was boarding Henrietta, he got out his mobile phone and phoned someone.
Ah, Marcus. Yes, everything is going just fine.
Later that day, Edward arrived at the junction, and Henry was on the other track waiting for Thomas's passengers. Henry looked over at Edward.
Edward, maybe I was a bit rude to you earlier. I myself have crashed in the snow, and I know there's nothing that can be done.
Edward smiled.
You mean you know that it wasn't really my fault? Yes, I do, Edward. It was the Wellers' fault, not yours. But unfortunately, Gordon and James still can't see that. And a little bit of advice. If I were you, I would not come to Tidmouth Sheds tonight. Get your driver to take you somewhere else. Just until all this calms down. That's okay, Henry. But please do me a favour. Talk to Gordon and James. And try and convince them that it wasn't my fault.
Edward, I will try my best. I promise you.
That night, Toby left Henrietta in the carriage shed, and the Fat Controller and Bridget were waiting for him.
Well, Toby, how did it go?
Do you want me to be truthful, sir? It couldn't have got any worse.
Maybe this is it for me. Maybe it's time to say goodbye.
Don't say that, sir.
It looks like it's time for Richard to get the railway.
Sir, what are you saying?
What I'm saying is, maybe I should just retire and end all this.
Stephen! You can't give up and let that railway inspector win! You need to fight! Fight for your job!
Bridget's right. Don't let him win, sir.
Toby, out of all the engines on this railway, I'm closest to you the most. I remember the day when me and Bridget were on holiday with our grandparents, and we met you.
Oh, how could I ever forget that, sir? It was wonderful. Your grandfather gave me a home and a job. Which leads me to ask you a question. Would your grandfather, the original Fat Controller, have resigned just because a bullion railway inspector arrived?
You know something, Toby? You're right. I'm not gonna let a railway inspector walk onto this railway and try and put me out of a job. I'm gonna fight. I will fight to the end if I have to.
And I will help you, Stephen.
And I will help you too.
Meanwhile, Bernard Jenkins was on his phone again.
Everything is going to plan, Marcus. It is not looking good for Sir Topham Hatt at all. He will be out of a job by Christmas.
A very good job, Bernard.
And also, tomorrow night it's going to go all over the news. Sodor in crisis. Sir Topham Hatt facing the sack.
Sodor will not last 5 minutes without a Hatt in charge.
Yes, but that leads to a problem. His son Richard is set to get the railway after he retires.
Oh, don't you worry, Bernard. I know where Richard Hatt lives, and I will deal with him.
That's settled then. Good night, Marcus. We shall speak tomorrow.
Bye, Bernard.
From what I hear, sounds like things are going well.
Oh, noob. Things couldn't get any better.
You know, Marcus, I was thinking. They say the 21st of December is the day the world ends. But what if it's the day Sodor ends?
Oh, I like that, noob. After the 21st of December, Sodor will cease to exist.